Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to volume 108 of Lesser Known Lost Media. I'm your host, Mr. Sean. If you're joining us for the first time, congratulations, you have 107 episodes to binge watch after this one. But if you've already been here, you know how it works. We cover 5 lesser known pieces of lost media that just don't get covered by the other YouTube channels. Also, after our 4 family-friendly pieces, we take a brief break and then feature a 5th, spicier piece. It's definitely a fun format that has been really great for the channel. I hope you enjoy it. We're keeping it going. But before we begin today, I do have one simple ask for you, the viewer. If you could just click that like button. It is a small click for you, but it is immensely powerful for this channel. And again, the algorithm seems to require it these days for your video to get shared with people. So, if you could just take a moment and click that like button. Let's begin. Our first piece today is City Warriors, a lost Commodore 64 game, existence unconfirmed, from the 1990s. So, City Warriors is a Commodore 64 game that had allegedly been in development in the early 1990s by an unknown company. The game was supposedly advertised on the complete C64 guide on page 39. What was displayed on the advert itself is unknown, as it has never surfaced on the internet. And trying to look up this guide leads to unrelated things also about the Commodore 64. Very little else is known about the game, as there is no information about its company, developers, publishers, or gameplay, as there are no screenshots of it whatsoever. Though nothing is known about the game itself, it has been speculated that it had been a beat-em-up similar to the games like Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, or River City Ransom. But there's no hard evidence to back that up. It's also possible that it might have been a game very similar to NY Warriors for the Amiga. Ultimately, there is very little information about this game, and it is unclear if the game itself was in production at all. Again, some of these are some of my favorites because there is so little information out there about it that it is basically all we can do is speculate. But at the same time, some of these don't typically seem to get the outlandish speculations that some pieces that we have a little bit more information about get. So ultimately, the complete unknown of pieces like this are very interesting to me, and I hope they are to you as well. At number 2 today, guys, we have Roy del Espacio, a lost Mexican animated film from 1983. Now, Roy del Espacio, aka Roy from Space, was a Mexican animated movie directed by Hector Lopez Carmona, Rafael Angel Gil, and Ulysses P. Aguirre that was produced from 1979 to 1982, being released in 12 theaters in Mexico City on March 3rd, 1983, and was the 3rd Mexican animated feature film ever made. Now, long story short, this film was a passion project made by people with photography but not animation experience. They only had one animator on staff who really said it was just a paycheck for him, and when he got a better offer, he went with it. And basically they had, this film was mostly made by cheaply rotocopying old Flash Gordon films, and had a plot heavily derivative of Flash Gordon serials. It was of poor quality, and thus far, really all we have left of it that is publicly accessible is a couple of stills. It is known that a copy of the film is held in the Mexican Film Archives. However, the wife of the director is the one who holds the rights to it currently, and so far no deal for the release has been made. Now guys, I had previously recorded this segment where I completely butchered most people's names. There was a lot of Spanish that I am not very good at, but that is to say, this film was pretty much just a passion project of people who wanted to make a film without any real desire to make profit. They wanted to release that film in theaters and just see what happened. And while the film itself is probably nothing to write home about, it is a lost passion project, and I think those are some of the most important that we need to be looking for and maintaining, because that's, I mean, again, yeah, it's like something you might have made as a high school film project, but it exists. It was the work of people who believed in it and really wanted to do it, and I think that means we as the people deserve to see their efforts. So hopefully this one gets released someday. At number 3, we have Cyber Chase Bridge, lost production material from an unproduced PBS animated series episode from 1998. Now, in 1998, prior to completion of the pilot for the educational show Cyber Chase, Multimedia Research presented the characters and story concepts to groups of 4th grade students. The purpose of this presentation was to gauge what aspects of the planned show resonated with the children. This presentation included a 10-minute audio tape and black and white storyboards for an episode called Bridge, which was not produced. So, what we know of the content of that presentation. The Multimedia Research presentation operated in 2 parts. In the first part, the children were shown images of 6 of the characters. This included the main hero trio of Inez, Julie, who would become Jackie in the show, and Kyle, who would become Matt in the show. This also included 3 of the villains, which were the hacker, Bugs, who became Buzz in the show, and Delete. The children were able to provide feedback about what they liked or disliked about each character. The artwork of these characters were reproduced in the research paper. Now for the second part, the children were shown 2 10-minute audio tapes of story concepts alongside black and white storyboards. It is not known whether these audio tapes contained narration for the storyboards or if they contained early voice acting for the characters. The researchers confirmed that no animation was shown. The 2 story concepts presented were known as Pottleville and Bridge. While the production material used to present Pottleville is lost, this concept was expanded into the pilot episode of the show, The Pottleville Case, in 1999. Meanwhile, the story concept for Bridge is not known to have been used to produce an episode. The Bridge episode is only known to have existed as part of the presented production material. Unlike the character artwork, the storyboards for these episodes were not reproduced in the research paper. So, what is known about Bridge? Well, some plot details are known concretely, as the researchers state them in the paper. However, much of the paper is spent asking the 4th grade audience for their recollections of the episode. Recollections. Why did I say it weird? The recollections of the episode. It is possible that the children are mistaken on some points and that the researchers did not correct them. Therefore, when trying to piece together the plot, it is important to differentiate between statements from the researchers and statements from the 4th grade audience. The researchers provide the following basic plot summary. The bad guys wanted the elephant's diamond, and the kids were trying to recover the elephant by building a bridge to the island where it had been left by the bad guys. The 4th graders discussed the trio attempting to use a trapeze seat to bridge the gap, but it doesn't fit. The paper does not clarify whether the trapeze seat was too big or too small. The 4th graders note that the villain broke the trapeze seat into 16 pieces. However, this ended up helping the heroes as they were able to rearrange the broken pieces, stick them together with chewing gum, and fit the gap. The 4th graders discuss the kids needing to sing to the elephant to get it to dance across the bridge. They also note that the elephant smacks the hacker with its trunk during the ending. One of the 4th graders also enjoyed the following line from the ending. "You'll never beat me, Inez. Not till next time you're in cyberspace." While the paper does not clarify who said the line, it was almost certainly the main villain, the hacker. The paper also discusses some more minor points of the story. One of the 4th graders mentions the following. "I liked when the boy called her Smarty Pants." We don't get clarification as to who the boy is or who she is. However, based on character dynamics from the final show, this was probably Kyle, who would become Matt, calling Inez Smarty Pants. A few of the audience members mentioned the villains using a helicopter, a motorboat, and jet skis, with one kid remarking that the jet ski with the saw attached to it was too cruel. There were also mentions of the hacker yelling at Bugs and Delete, as well as Inez yelling at Julie and Kyle. It's not known if the yelling was indicated by the storyboard images and audio narration or through voice acting, since the content of the audio tapes is unknown. This one's very interesting to me, guys, because something I've never really talked about with anybody is I've seen it in movies and TV shows. I always wished that I could have been part of like a focus group at some point, like for a new TV show or as a kid, like a new toy, a new game, a new video game. Like I always thought being part of a focus group would have been really cool. And I would have loved it if they, someone came to my school, to my class, and did like a focus group for a new upcoming show. And I would have probably watched that show religiously afterwards, being like, dang, I helped make this happen. So the fact that this happened and it's lost is fascinating to me. At number 4 today, guys, we have Paper Planes, a lost Tatsuki Fujimoto one-shot manga from 2013. So Paper Planes, or Kami Hikoki, is a one-shot manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto created in 2013, when he was 19 years old. It was submitted for the Third Crown New Comic Award, where it received the Jury Special Award. The manga is currently considered lost, with no publicly available copies. It is only known through contest materials and surviving fragments. Now, the background of it is that Tatsuki submitted Paper Planes to the Third Crown New Comic Award. The manga was well received, earning the Jury Special Award. However, it has not been officially published or made available to the public, leading to its current status as a lost work. The synopsis that we know of is Mizu and Shun live next door to each other and spend their days happily together, communicating by flying paper airplanes to each other's houses. However, when Mizu decides to move out and transfer to a new school, they get into a fight over a trivial misunderstanding and are unable to make up. Eventually, 6 years pass, and it's time for the two to meet again. Now, we do actually have some comments on the piece from the people involved in this award. From the judges, or their advice was, the artist clearly expressed what he wanted to depict, and this was the piece that conveyed what he wanted to show most directly. Try to add some variation to the facial expressions and composition. Fair enough. There was also comments from the editorial department. The straightforward story was well received, but the drawing skills were lacking, and the characters' expressions were too extreme and left many parts feeling unnatural. I hope the artist will acquire the skills to draw in a way that supports the story. It is also important to pay attention to the characters. So it seems like the story was well told, but the mangaka just had a little bit too little drawing experience is what I take away from those two comments. As to what is available, as of now, it is lost and only fragments of information and artwork are known, with no known digitized copies or scans known to be in circulation. And as of this year, no additional pages beyond the contest materials have been located. However, a potential lead towards recovery may exist in a website operated by Tatsuki Fujimoto between 2011 and he abandoned around 2015. The site was used to showcase his early illustrations, one-shot manga, short manga series. It is unknown if Paper Planes was ever featured there, but archived snapshots may contain related materials. This one to me is very interesting, based not so much on what it is in and of itself, but what it represents. As a creative myself, a lot of us have early attempts in whatever medium we try, whether in this case it would be a manga. In my case, it would be things like my early miniatures before I really mastered, or I don't even think mastered is the right word, gained a acceptable level of experience so that I can be proud of my efforts. A lot of my early efforts are gone. I did not save them for posterity. And this might be the case with this one. Maybe he archived it somewhere, maybe not. Maybe it was such an early thing that this mangaka decided not to save it for posterity and it is now lost. And I think that's always interesting because I think it is important to see where we came from as creatives. And I really hope that even if we don't see it, that this artist, this writer, has saved it somewhere so that they can look back on it and see how they started. But at the same time, it is lost media, so if you've got it, sir, please let us see it. All right, guys, it is that time where we take the break and I, talk to you before we get into that spicy piece. And what I want to say today is if you're as excited for spoopy season as I am, why not head on over to the Fourth Wall store and check out these brand new, one-of-a-kind, exclusive, you won't find them elsewhere, but these retro-inspired Halloween t-shirts. We've got t-shirts and we've even got a patterned Hawaiian/camp shirt, as well as if you use the code SPOOPY at checkout, not only can you get all of these items at with the 5% off your total order, but you can apply that to any of the stuff over on my Fourth Wall. I'm also currently there's of course a ton of anime collectibles as well as custom miniatures available both on eBay and Mercari, though the items are picking up in sales on those two sites, so they're going fast. If you like an item, be sure to buy it. It might not last for long. So again, please check out the links, Fourth Wall, eBay, and Mercari. Links are in the description. Please do check those out. And with that being said, let's get to the final spicy piece. And at number 5, our spicy piece today is Pikachu, lost adult-oriented illustrations of Pokemon characters from the 1990s. I bet you didn't think Pokemon would make it into the spicy slot, did ya? So if you've been living under a rock for the past 20 some odd years, Pikachu is an electric-type Pokemon species in Nintendo's and Game Freak's franchise, Pokemon. Firstly debuted in the 1990s, Pikachu became a fan favorite in the fandom and is considered the mascot of Pokemon, being featured in many games and various advertisements. Pikachu has been received well by critics for his cute design and is an icon in Japanese pop culture. Pikachu was created by Atsuko Nishida and Ken Sugimori during the making of Red and Blue, Pikachu's first appearance. Ken wanted to make more cute Pokemon and brought in Atsuko to help with the design. However, when the game was pitched to Nintendo of America, they didn't like the design of Pikachu due to it being too cute for the market. Instead, they created illustrations of Pikachu as a tiger with huge breasts, as they thought it would appeal to children more. Wait, what? Alright, after that crazy statement, let's get into the background a little bit. So, during the making of Red and Blue, 2 designers named Ken Sugimori and Atsuko Nishida were tasked with creating designs for various Pokemon. Ken wanted to make more cute designs because they could appeal to children and the market more. Ken pitched the idea for Atsuko to create a design for Pikachu. She created the design and Pikachu's evolution by using single color identity that would work in the Game Boy Advance hardware. Afterwards, it was finalized by Ken, who drew promotional artwork on all designs and make any last-minute changes. After the design was made, it was then sent for localization at Nintendo of America. Nintendo of America had a big history of changing many things in Red and Blue. According to an interview with Gail Tilden from the Video Game Foundation, Nintendo of America at first wanted Pokemon to be a gritty baseball game because they wanted to change the Pokemon League to a baseball league. Another change from Nintendo of America was from translator Bob Ogasawara, who changed many of the game's lines to pop culture references. One of these changes was of the Pokemon character Spearow, who he changed to the name of Britney Sparrows, referencing the singer Britney Spears. Nintendo of Japan didn't like this idea and asked Ogasawara to change its name and stop goofing around or he would get fired, and rightly so. Britney Sparrows is a terrible name for Spearow, or what was it? Yeah, it's Spearow, right? Yeah. But anyway, when Nintendo of America received the design, they were immediately imposed to Pikachu's cute design because it wouldn't work in the American market. Yeah, because America hates cute things. Nintendo of America decided to create illustrations and proposed to change the design to a tiger with huge breasts. And there's a quote. The staff in America submitted their ideas for replacement designs, but we just couldn't believe the kind of stuff they were proposing, Ishihara said in an interview with Nintendo Japan. They turned Pikachu into something like a tiger with huge breasts. It looked like a character from the musical Cats. When the Pokemon Company president, Tsunekazu Ishihara, hope I said that right, was sent this design, he asked them how it was supposed to be Pikachu. They responded, pointing at the tail and saying, "There's its tail right there." Ishihara thought that the design was very stupid and stood his ground that they would not go through with this design. Eventually, the illustrations were scrapped entirely, and the West used the same design Ken and Atsuko designed in Japan. So, of course, there is some debate on whether or not any of this is real. After the news about this event broke out from The Times and the YouTube channel Did You Know Gaming, many Pokemon fans balked at the idea of an official illustration from Nintendo of America showing Pikachu having big breasts. However, the existence of these drawings was debated by some fans. Instead, some fan believes that Ishihara's comments from the interview were mistranslated and was actually meaning a big muscular chest. One of these arguments was from 2 Reddit users, Mr. Vermin Dursley on r/TodayILearned and Ribito from r/TruePokemon. Their argument was that the use of the Japanese word muse, which is meant both chest and breast. The user explains that there was an interview with Satoru Iwata about how he didn't like some Pokemon's designs were cute and instead should have been muscular and fearsome, and that this was what Ishihara meant all along. So, But we do have confirmation. After the Reddit posts went popular, a Japanese media outlet called GameSpark made an investigation about the adult illustrations and revealed that Ishihara meant breast all along. According to GameSpark, they found an interview by Ishihara during the Gold and Silver era which mentions the adult illustrations. The interview asked if the designs were like those girls who do Pikachu cosplays at anime conventions, in which Ishihara confirmed, quote, "Yes, exactly. They presented that kind of design to us for real. I thought it was interesting, in a sense of appreciating such cultural differences. However, I didn't want to compete in the overseas market with that kind of thing." So as of today, none of the illustrations have been released publicly. According to Ishihara, he confirmed that he has the illustrations but won't release them to anyone as long as he lives. This, to me, is so ridiculous just because we've always heard how Americans are actually quite prudish and that when things get localized from other countries, content is cut. One of the big thing being that, like in a similar game, Earthbound, which you may have heard of, characters that are referenced as being drunk, even in Pokemon, the character being drunk, they're changed. In Earthbound, the drunk guy is changed to party guy, and in Pokemon, when you can't pass somewhere because the guy is drunk, it's actually changed to "I haven't had my coffee yet." So again, we take out adult references because of the American market and how we are a little bit more uptight in what we put in our children's media than places like Japan. However, Japan gave us this iconic, cute Pikachu, and America said, let's make it not a mouse, but what if it was a tiger with huge bazonkers? And that to me is absolutely insane. And rightly so, they said absolutely not. Can you imagine Pokemon? Who do you think? You know what, guys? Since I always ask you to give comments at the end of the video, today let that comment be, if this monstrosity Babubid Pikachu had become the actual version of Pikachu, who do you think instead would be, assume all Pokemon are exactly the same, except Pikachu is now a tiger with big old bazonkos. Who do you think would be the mascot of Pokemon if it was not Pikachu? Because everyone knows Pikachu is the mascot of Pokemon, but this monstrosity would likely not have been as merchandisable. So without the Pikachu that we know, whether or not you love him is up to you, but if without Pikachu, who would the Pokemon mascot be? Because it wouldn't be this thing. Of course, this is simply a conceptual sketch I made using AI. But I would love to see, just for the sheer spectacle and laughs of it, I do want to see the original concept that Nintendo of America had. Also, the fact that they wanted to change the Pokemon League to a baseball league is nuts to me. I mean, that one, Japan likes baseball too, but still, can you imagine Pokemon being a baseball game? Nuts. And guys, that is the video. I said that one thing I noticed in some of my previous videos is that I was a little indecisive. I said two different things for when we were going to do a giveaway. One I said 1,180, and the other one I said 1,200 subscribers. So you know what? We're going to do both. We are so close to that 1,180. Just need a couple more subs, and we'll be there. And then we'll do another one at 1,200 subscribers. I know our goal for the year was 2,000. I don't know if we're going to make it, guys, but I do want to thank you all for being here, for watching. So help me get to those two goals, and we'll do some giveaways. Until next time, I'm Mr. Sean. This is Mr. Sean Productions. I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow, that you keep it real, and that you'll join me for the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, big shout out J-Dog. Thank you so much, J-Dog, my longest and best supporter. If you would like to get your name shouted out like J-Dog, or if you'd just like your name to be on a scrolling list at the end of each video, please do consider joining as a YouTube channel member or over on Patreon as a Patreon patron. Till next time, guys, keep it real.